Good day, Africa, and welcome to AAU Talks on AAU TV with Schenineda, Makuku, and Kuma. On today's series of quality assurance, we will be looking at harmonization of higher education, quality assurance, and accreditation. On today's show, I have our regular guest, an expert in quality assurance on the continent. I will go for a quick break, and when we come, I will introduce my guest for the show. Stay with us.
When you think of a university, you think of a place where you will go to cut out your future. And when you get there, you realize there's a lot more to it. The beautiful structures, facilities, and ambience. A place where you meet great minds, learn from each other, experience different cultures, as well as master the art of fundamental problem solving. Be part of a whole different study experience with Kampala International University, KIU, exploring the heights.
Welcome back. This is AAU Talks with Schenineda, Makuku, and Kuma. Remember, you can follow the conversation on Facebook, search for Association of African Universities, on YouTube, Association of African Universities, and on Twitter, you can also find AAU TV as well, and you can follow the conversation, send in your questions, and you can also join the discussions, post your questions, and then we'll be available to answer those questions in due time. On today's episode of AAU Talks, we are looking at quality assurance in general, and on today's episode, we are looking at harmonization of higher education, quality assurance, and accreditation. And with me today, I have Dr. Violet Makuku. Dr. Violet Makuku is a quality assurance expert, and she works all over the continent trying to ensure quality assurance in our higher education institutions. She's also a staff of the Association of African Universities. Welcome, Dr. Violet Makuku.
Thank you very much, Schenineda.
How are you doing?
I'm okay. I hope you are also doing
Yes,
well.
I'm fine.
Thank you.
Okay. On this series, we are looking at quality assurance in general, but on today's episode, we are looking at harmonization of African higher education, quality assurance, and accreditation. In our previous discussions, you made a lot of insights into what is quality. You also talk about how do we assure quality, and then what compromises quality in any organization, specifically higher education institutions. You also talked a lot about the way forward in domesticating quality culture in our universities. But then we also know that these are not an end in itself. They are all a means to an end. So talking about the end, we're looking at harmonization of higher education, quality assurance, and accreditation. So Dr. Violet, we will look at what generally is harmonization, and then what are the available tools for this process.
Thank you very much. Welcome to you all. Now, when we talk of harmonization, I think we need to have a brief background of what brought about the coining of harmonization of African higher education, quality assurance, and accreditation, which came up also to be an initiative where I'm the Continental Project Officer. So you see, we have what we call the Arusha Convention of 1981. This was when the ministers of higher education in Africa realized that we had challenges of recognition of each other's qualifications, whether it is staff or students in universities. And so they wanted to say, how can we minimize this and enhance student and staff mobility at a point when most students were losing opportunities for scholarships, because when they got into another country or into another institution, they were now being told your qualifications are too low. Unfortunately, most of the time, you are being told your qualifications are too low. In rare cases, a country would want to say your qualifications are more superior than ours. So coming to that, we later had the revision of the Arusha Convention into the Addis Convention of 2014. And because after 1981, nobody put that into action. And you normally hear of the Bologna process.
Yeah.
When you look at this Arusha Convention document and the Bologna process, they were supposed to do exactly the same. Now in 2014, we now have the Addis Convention, which is the revised Arusha Convention. Within this, they now said, let's have the Pan-African Quality Assurance Framework.
Okay.
Within that framework now, they are saying, let's harmonize the higher education so that we can easily recognize each other's qualification. But now I have not yet even defined what harmonization is. So it's the unification and alignment of quality assurance in higher education at institutional, national, regional, and continental levels. We all have a role to play, and I'm going to give examples later on how we have already worked since 2016 up to date to make sure that this harmonization occurs. But when I say quality assurance too, it's looking at those standards that we use to make sure that we are meeting or surpassing a customer satisfaction.
Okay, so Dr. Violet, are there any tools specifically designed for this harmonization process?
Thank you very much. Yes, there are tools. So after the Addis Convention of 2014, we now had Tuning Africa 1 and Tuning Africa 2. And then in 2016, in fact, late 2015, we started the Harmonization of African Higher Education Quality Assurance and Accreditation Initiative. So these three initiatives had outcomes in between. The outcomes were to come up with minimum body of knowledge. We came up with the African standards and guidelines for quality assurance. We also have what we call the African Quality Rating Mechanism. And these, among the other small things which fall into them, would help us, including one major one, the alignment of the qualifications framework. That is also very, very key. Those are the tools which would then be used to make sure harmonization occurs.
Okay, Doc, looking at the university, for instance, it's the structures are so complex.
Yes.
So when you go in there and we are talking about harmonization, what specifically are we harmonizing? Are there structures? Are there some things that we are really looking to harmonize, and how do we go about doing those things?
Yes, thank you very much. But I would quickly and hasten to say that universities are also under the national accreditation bodies and also the ministries responsible for higher education. And as such, they need to also follow the national statutes, the national policies. But unfortunately, because these the policies, the statutes, the ordinances have been written long ago, and within the process of harmonization, we want the institutes to help the national government, the national accreditation bodies, because that is the ground also for socio-economic challenges, resolving the issues that are there, to now look into these policies, ordinances and statutes to align them with the current national policies and make sure that those things which are obsolete are removed. Those things which are applying today are also brought in to make sure that these policies remain relevant.
So, Doc, you talked about the how do we do it. So who are the main actors? Are we looking at the universities, and then, or we are looking at the accrediting bodies, or we are looking at the ministries of education? Who are the main actors in this particular harmonization exercise?
Thank you very much. There are many actors. Every stakeholder in the higher education is a key actor. Because when I look, remember I gave you 4 levels. Institutional level, national level, regional level, to say East Africa, West Africa, Southern Africa. We look at that, and then us at continental level, we then pick it up. We should have a hierarchy where everything is being built from the quality assurance units in the universities up to the accreditation bodies and the Council for Higher Education, up to the regional, for example, the Inter-University Community of East Africa. And then we work with them, because now as they go up, they are consolidating and making sure that they remove the repetitions,
Okay.
they remove overlaps. But can I quickly say something, for example, at institutional level?
Okay.
If we go, for example, into the Faculty of Commerce
Okay.
and Business Studies, you find that there's a course which has got two names in the Department of Accounting and Department of Business Studies. But when you look at it, other than the different names, BS 101, AC, meaning Accounts 101, all the content there is the same.
Okay.
And you also find that content overlaps also in business studies and in accounting. So in the process of harmonization, we are trying to say, let departments sit down and see what is being repeated unnecessarily.
Okay.
So if I were to do in mathematical language, I will have the subset, and these overlaps, they really come up clearly. We need to clear those, remove them, create maybe new courses, and also push the responsibility to some department so that we have borrowed courses.
Okay.
That will create time on the timetable, create time for students and staff, will also release venues.
Okay.
And harmonization is good.
Okay, Dr. Violet, looking at the levels, the 4 major levels you mentioned, of course, working together presents some challenges, and probably so far the level in terms of harmonization that we've gotten to may be due to some of these challenges. What are some of the challenges you foresee whilst working towards harmonization?
It's not only the challenges that we foresee, but there are real existing challenges which will have been making it so difficult for things to quickly move fast. The major one is resistance to change.
Okay.
People fear change, and they don't know, lots of uncertainty, and so we need change management.
Okay.
Number 2, infiltration of information. Because of our different national cultures and institutional cultures, some institutions and countries are outgoing, and when they hear of a thing, they are always searching for information and things. So the different levels of where people are in terms of even knowing that there's a Tuning Africa 1, Tuning Africa 2, which helped us to come with minimum board of knowledge, or there's the Aqua Initiative. The issues of language barriers.
Okay.
We have 4 main languages in Africa: Portuguese, English, French, and which is the other one? Arabic.
Arabic, yes.
And so we need people who can quickly translate, people who can quickly also help us with the dissemination. And so during the Aqua Initiative, we tried to pick key people from every country to do a common understanding of quality assurance. But as we did that, we realized that at institutional level, some institutions do not even have a quality assurance unit.
Yeah.
Some people are still under the ministries.
Okay.
Some people have fully fledged Council for Higher Education, commissions for higher education, and national accreditation bodies.
Okay.
And so all these disparities tell us of a rugged terrain.
Okay.
It's not level ground where we are starting from. And so it becomes a bit challenging. The receptive rate too, you know, there's a personal culture, there's a national culture, there's an ethnic culture. And these universities which we have in different countries are also, some of them are owned by people who are outside. Some of them are owned by the state.
Okay.
And all these disparities would make it a bit difficult. But we also have good news. We also have a lot of success stories at institutional, national, regional, and continental
Okay, so
level.
Doc, we will rest on the good news and then we'll go for a quick break, and when we come, you'll give
Thank
us
you
more of the
very
good
much.
news. Okay, so if you just joined us, this is AAU Talks on AAU TV with Schenineda, Kweku and Kuma. Today we are looking at harmonization of African higher education, quality assurance and accreditation. We'll go for a quick break. Stay with us.
Accra Institute of Technology is a top-notch private university in Ghana. The university offers world-class bachelor's, master's, and PhD degree programs.
IT and management is one of the good courses I think we should offer these days, because I realized that on my years of experience on the IT field, I realized that IT guys find it very difficult to cope with the management aspect. And AIT is giving us the opportunity to do IT and management. We dive into what? Programming. I did HR, I did principal management, and all this one is giving me the opportunity to be able to communicate with my manager. So when we are talking about IT, I know that I'm talking about something technical, and I can also talk about management, which is also another dimension of corporate institution. So with all this, I think AIT is giving us a very nice opportunity.
We are AIT, the University of the Future.
Welcome back. This is AAU Talks on AAU TV. We are talking to Dr. Violet Makuku. Dr. Violet Makuku is a quality assurance expert, and then she's also a staff of the Association of African Universities in charge of quality assurance on the continent. Dr. Makuku, before we left off, we were looking at harmonization in general, but then we need to revisit before we can even begin to tackle the harmonization head on. Let's look at the key things that, if we can list them, say 1, 2, that we really need to harmonize to get us to that level that we really want to get to. What would be those things?
Thank you very much, Schenineda. First of all, I talked about the ordinances, among other things.
Okay.
They should be aligned to the Acts of Parliament. Otherwise, we will have discord.
Okay.
And going on further, we look at the qualifications framework. If I look, for example, at the SADC region,
Okay.
there are more than 12 countries in there, but the SADC region has got a quality assurance committee, but now they also have a SAQUAN, which is also a network of quality assurance organizations in the SADC region. So there was an established qualifications framework. Every SADC country now needs now to align their qualifications frameworks, national qualifications framework, with the regional qualification framework. Institutions need to be guided by the national qualifications framework. So you see how hierarchy is important.
Yeah.
We can't start from anywhere. We can't start from a vacuum. We start in the institutions where things are happening. So when we have that alignment, all universities are aligned to the national qualifications framework. The nation then takes it to the region.
Okay.
Inter-University Community of East Africa, they've done it. Now their students can cross over. We also need to go on to say, I told you, under Tuning Africa and the Aqua initiatives, we also have the minimum board of knowledge. I'll quickly explain how it works. Okay. So with the minimum board of knowledge, we are saying, let's say 5 universities in Ghana are offering medicine. So they need to sit on a round table. They bring all that they have for their medicine degree programs. So what they are doing is, what do you have for first year, first semester, first course? So we expect to have 5 course outlines here.
Okay.
First year, first semester, second course, third course. How many courses? Then you find one university could have in the first semester been offering 7 courses,
Okay.
another one 6 courses. And so they need to harmonize and agree how many courses. As they do that, they also need to look at the credit system. Which credit system have you been using? Maybe you have 3 hours, or this way you've got 2 hours, and so they need to agree and come together now to check. Also for each course, they are checking on the minimum board of knowledge. When I say minimum board of knowledge is, For each of the 5 course outlines which have been put here for one course, they are checking what is obsolete in those course outlines and they are taking it away. As they are doing that, there's another advantage. They are taking the new things, trending and contemporary issues and adding them there. So I want to stress that I'm saying minimum body of knowledge. Okay. It means that when they are done with that, it's the thing which will enable student mobility. Okay. When they get to one university in that country or one university in that region, people will quickly check for those courses. People will quickly check for the content. But it doesn't mean that a university cannot add more. That's why we are saying minimum. So after this process, you can add more, and competition is always there. But for me now, that is where I'm stressing, other than competition and conflict, I'm encouraging, highly encouraging complementarity, collaboration, and cooperation. Teamwork is the thing that will get us there if we also look at other success stories. Okay. Then I can add on, if it is an accounting degree program and 3 universities are offering, why is it that some complete it in 3 years, some complete it in 4 years? 4 years. Those universities should come together and agree on what they really want to do. Okay. Further than that, you will also realize that we have infrastructure. Why are people struggling? One university has more infrastructure and they have fewer students. Another university has got more students but fewer infrastructure investment. So they should also collaborate to make sure that there is no underutilization of infrastructure. So it enhances again program exchanges, joint programs. And we are encouraging a lot intra-Africa mobility, intra-Africa staff exchange, because we also have universities who are at different levels of development. We can't always be going west.
And Dr. Violet, as a follow-up, as you were describing the process, you mentioned that universities need to come together and then establish a minimum board of knowledge and then try to harmonize the courses that they offer. But then I ask, who should facilitate these interactions of bringing the universities together in the first place to undertake this exercise?
Yes, thank you very much. That is a very good question. You see, I don't know whether it is an African problem alone or what, but when something comes and we need to do it, as somebody says, I think anybody will do it, but at the end of the day, nobody will do it. I gave you 4 levels: institutional, national, regional, and continental. So it means at institutional level, if even they don't have the quality assurance unit, departments should mobilize themselves to make sure that they are doing the checks already. They are not necessarily even the HOD. Look at the examples which we have. We have the girl who is fighting for climate change, alleviation. We also had Malala, who was fighting for girl child education. They were women, females, but 14 years of age. So people normally give these excuses. I'm a lower level staff, I'm female, I'm a student, I'm this and that. All those excuses should fall off. I'm too young or I'm too old. Anybody can take it up with their department, with their university, to say we are being left behind. By the way, when the world moves and you don't come on board, will that stop the world from moving? No. So at departmental level, let's have the HOD, but even anybody in the department initiating these things. And if we have the quality assurance units also, we need to work very, very closely with them, because in most cases, they are the ones who are also exposed, but they don't know everything. There is no harm in us approaching them, but we warn them also that they should not be biting lions. They should not be police officers. So they should work well in collegiality with the university communities. At national level, we have the national accreditation bodies, and there's no harm in vice chancellors, deans coming up with a strong voice together to convince their minister that we need to do this thing. It's the in thing and it will help us. And then at regional level, we also have the SADC, for example. In West Africa, what do you have?
So far, the popular ones are the SADC regions and then the IUCA.
East Africa.
Doing in East Africa.
Yes,
yeah.
But I think we also have a very good thing which is happening in West Africa in the ECOWAS zone.
Yes.
Yes. So those, and then the Maghreb region, they've finished with their qualifications alignment. East Africa is done with their qualifications alignment.
Okay, so
Yes.
now we are waiting on West Africa and then probably South Africa to
Maybe
come
they are
on.
somewhere.
Dr. Violet, we've come so far in harmonization. We started the conversation and then the implementation of harmonization very long ago, talking about the Arusha Convention and all that. So far, are there any success stories in this move towards harmonization?
Yes,
in
thank
Africa?
you very much, Schenineda. And that is a very good question, which is highly encouraging. There are a lot of success stories. We have what we call RISAO. It's a francophone agriculture in West Africa. They've managed to harmonize their agriculture degree programs with a lot of success. And our Secretary General for the Association of African Universities, fortunately, Professor Etienne Ehile, was also part of RISAO to make sure that they bring this minimum board of knowledge. And they've already done that, and they are implementing it with a lot of success. Okay. When I look at Southern Africa, I can pick on Zimbabwe, for example. As early as 2016, they started on working on the minimum board of knowledge. And so far, they've managed to do it in like 5 specialist area. By this time, I think they are over that. They are approaching more than 7 or so. But they took it very seriously. And you see, what becomes also important, Schenineda, is our leadership. Our leadership, instead of being retrogressive, they really need to be progressive and pragmatic, and also listen to their Council for Higher Education's commissions and accreditation bodies. They also need to work together with the ministry and the vice chancellors and the deans to have regular fora. And this is what they did in Zimbabwe. That's why it was so successful. The ministry was working with everybody else. Every key stakeholder is important for success to be realized.
Dr. Violet, finally, we look at the Association of African Universities as a continental body for higher education in Africa.
Yes.
What role does AAU play when it comes to harmonization of higher education, quality assurance, and accreditation? And vis-a-vis, looking at the AQRM and then the uptake of the AQRM, you combine those things quickly for us.
Thank you very much. So what is key and important for me to highlight to anybody is that we have the African Union.
Okay.
And the Association of African Universities is the implementing arm of the African Union in terms of higher education issues.
Okay.
Other than that, the Association of African Universities is also the Continental Education Strategy Coordinator. So we are strategically positioned to make sure that we coordinate universities. We have more than 400 member universities. Besides the member universities, all universities are normally very active in our activities. Like in AAU, also as a workshops coordinator, I see a lot of interaction with universities.
Okay.
As the HAQUA Initiative project officer at continental level too, I see a lot of collaboration, and that role of creating platforms for discussion when we do conferences, workshops, It's very important. And we are also invited a lot. When I look at last year alone, I just want to applaud those nations and countries who invited me on behalf of the Association of African Universities to come and share with them what is happening at continental level regarding quality assurance. And so these are the fora where we are sharing. I remember the Namibia Council for Higher Education. I remember the Egypt Council for Higher Education, and this is not their proper name, but their quality assurance national body. They held also international and national conferences. And even institutions like the Accra Technical University in Ghana and the World Technical University, among others, the ABM University College in Botswana, and the Boto University in Botswana. These universities, we are doing lots of collaborations with them. But what remains is that they will be far much ahead in terms of understanding these things. So we are now working with them to say each time we are working with a nation or a university, they are bringing together key stakeholders, whether at national level or institutional level or regional level. Okay. And then UNESCO also is playing a key role.
Okay.
As of 2019, I remember we did a lot of meetings with UNESCO and many key stakeholders for the continent, the qualifications frameworks, the accreditation bodies, the permanent secretaries, the ministers come together, and this is a good forum also where AAU is collaborating with international bodies to make things happen. So we are doing a lot of work for the Aqua Initiative, which is also core to the harmonization. Remember the full name, Harmonization of African Higher Education, Quality Assurance and Accreditation. We are then meant to bring together the minimum body of knowledge, the standards, African standards and guidelines, and start disseminating them into universities. But I'm happy that I went to Tanzania, University of Dodoma, recently, and I realized that they got the standards on guidelines from the Tanzania Commission. But when I browsed through, I realized that they've already incorporated a lot of things which they also borrowed from the documents which we disseminated to them in early 2019. 2020, they've already done the revisions. So we want these bodies to be highly active and highly proactive and receptive. That way we move. So we are looking forward to make strides. We are getting into the Aqua Phase 2. It's mainly on domestication of the AQRM, as you asked, which is the African Quality Rating Mechanism. And it helps us when we do that voluntary institutional evaluations of individual institutions. We are now checking to what extent they've taken the standards and guidelines, which are looking at community engagement, teaching, research, internationalization. And by the way, the support departments are not to be left out because finance, student support, staff support, works and maintenance, all these should also be checked with these standards and guidelines. They are awesome. We also look at even accommodation, catering, library, the clinics and hospitals.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bartlett. We've come so far, and next time we'll be also looking at individual aspects of quality assurance in research, in teaching and learning, as you mentioned. So we will have more time on the series to talk about these aspects that you mentioned. Thank you very much for joining us and your service to higher education in Africa.
Thank you very much.
Okay, viewers, if you are watching us, this is AAU Talks on AAU TV with Schenineda and Kuma. Today, I was in discussion with Dr. Bartlett Makuku on the harmonization of African higher education, quality assurance, and accreditation. And it has been an interesting discussion. You can go over the discussion and then take up the key elements. And if you have any question, you can address it to AAU, and Dr. Bartlett will be available to answer all your queries, and then anything that you want to ask her, she's available. This is AAU Talks, and I was your host, Schenineda Ankuma. Thank you for watching.